Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Battle Through the Heavens Part 213 based on novel. So let's start. Behind the somewhat distorted space was an enormous black piece of land. Some dense whiteness occasionally broke the surface of the ground. They were broken bones that revealed a strange chill. In the middle of this large area stood a quiet black hall. It seemed like an ancient ferocious beast as it crept across the ground. An extremely dark and terrifying feeling slowly fluctuated over this sealed space. There were countless, extremely large, and rough black chains extending from the large black hall. These chains were inserted deep into the ground. There was a cluster of black fog lingering over these chains. The fog vaguely formed a human shape. Some lustres occasionally flickered over the chains. Finally, they rushed into the black fog and caused the black fog to appear as though it possessed a form. This entire area appeared unusually quiet. A strange atmosphere covered it, giving one goosebumps. Crash! Such silence continued for an unknown period of time before 10 clusters of black fog stood up from the chains. The black fog shrank before turning into 10 cold-looking human figures. These people exchanged looks with one another before they moved and gathered together. Let's go. It is time for us to execute our mission. Hopefully, we will be able to bring back enough souls this time around. A human figure, who appeared to be the leader of this group, spoke in a hoarse voice. Old Demon Liu's group launched a sneak attack against a couple of cities belonging to the Sky Mansion earlier. Not only did they manage to bring back enough souls, they were even heavily rewarded by the first Genzuan. This time around, we will also turn a couple of Sky Mansion cities into a bloodbath. One of people laughed in a sinister manner. Remember not to leave any survivors. That leader smiled. He slowly nodded and waved his hand. A dozen plus figures turned into black fog that hurried away from the hall with lightning-like speed. Bang! This group of black fog was about to charge out of the spatial barrier when the space around them suddenly stilled. It then violently collapsed. The dozen-plus figures did not even manage to emit a miserable cry before they were crushed by the frightening spatial strength into nothing. Tear! The spatial barrier was slowly split apart as a big hole formed after this group of people were annihilated. A couple of figures slowly walked in from outside and stepped across the black soil. Toot! A sharp sound was emitted from the large hall the moment Xiao Yang's group stepped through the barrier. The black fog above those chains revealed many pairs of sinister eyes that observed Xiao Yang's group. How dare you barge into the territory of my Hall of Souls? You are asking to die? Sinister stern cries suddenly broke the silence. Many human figures stood up from the chains. Without waiting for any instructions, they turned into black lights that were accompanied by a dark wind as they charged towards Xiao Yang's group from all directions. A bunch of cannon fodder seems to happily be running around. Xiao Yang smiled after seeing them charge forward. He widened his mouth before a heated sea of fire shot out of his mouth. All of the black figures that entered within 100 feet of the sea of fire would vanish after 3 breaths. Those weaker individuals did not even manage to let out a miserable scream. The sea of fire spread. Those black figures hurrying over from behind finally froze their bodies in shock. Only then did they understand that this group was not here to kill themselves. Instead, it had truly come prepared. Bastard, how dare you act wildly in the territory of my Hall of Souls? You must be tired of living. All Tianzuns, capture them. A somewhat familiar cry was suddenly emitted from the hall as the sea of fire spread across the sky. Immediately, a dozen-plus figures rushed out of the hall with lightning-like speed. Finally, they floated on the horizon. Their eyes were dark as they looked at Xiao Yang's group behind the sea of fire. Ha ha, you actually dare to bring out some mere dozuns. Old Ghost Guu, it is better for you to personally step forward. Xiao Yang loudly laughed. His laughter was like thunder as it rumbled and spread through the hall. He took a step forward as he laughed and stepped across the 1,000-foot-wide sea of fire. He appeared in the air while his hand aimed at a group of Hall of Souls Tianzuns before abruptly clenching it. The space stilled as his hand was clenched again. Bang! After Xiao Yang clenched his hand, the bodies of the dozen-plus Tianzuns blasted into pools of blood. Even their souls had been shattered by that terrifying spatial pressure. With Xiao Yang's current 2-star Dosheng strength, it was impossible for some Dozun experts to obstruct him by even a little. See heart flame. Xiao Yang suddenly let out an exclamation after he clenched his hand. There was a figure remaining in that collapsed space. Moreover, this person contained an azure blue flame. Xiao Yang took a glance and recognized the origin of this flame. You are old man Mugu. A teasing smile was lifted on Xiao Yang's face. He waved his hand and an invisible force grab pulled that human figure over. He threw a palm and shattered the blue flame lingering on that figure. A familiar figure appeared from within. Surprisingly, that figure belonged to old man Mugu, who had repeatedly found trouble with Xiao Yang back then and had nearly snatched the pill-gathering champion spot. Xiao Yang? Xiao Yang's heart was surprised. Old man Mugu, on the other hand, was shocked to the point where he felt the impulse to wet himself. Ever since he had failed to snatch the 3,000 burning flame, he had been dispatched to the man hall. He had been collecting souls from outside of the central plains during this period of time. Although he had occasionally heard about Xiao Yang's soaring strength during this period of time, he did not probe for more information. After meeting Xiao Yang again, he finally understood that so-called soaring strength was much more frightening. Dosheng, you have actually advanced to the Dosheng class. Old man Mugu looked at the young face and felt his voice tremble. Within a short few years, that member of the younger generation, who could only flee when he had been chased by him, had actually become this strong. Ha ha, it has been many years since I have met you and I have been feeling some regret. The sea heart flame is also a heavenly flame. It is really a waste of a natural resource to leave it with you. Since I have met you again, please hand it over. Xiao Yang laughed without being polite. His hand on old man Mugu's head. A strange suction force erupted from his hand. He actually intended to forcefully pull the sea heart flame out of old man Gucha's body. Xiao Yang, you dare to barge into my hall of souls? You are really charging into hell to seek death. A furious roar was emitted from the hall while Xiao Yang was planning to forcefully extract the sea heart flame. A black figure rushed forward. A 1,000-foot large dark black chain penetrated air like a black poisonous dragon as it hurried to Xiao Yang. A mere Bansheng dares to embarrass himself? Old ghost Gu, you really think too highly of yourself. Xiao Yang shook his head slightly as that chain came. He flicked his finger and a low sonic boom formed from it. That enormous chain seemed to have suffered a heavy blow as it suddenly pulled back. Finally, it collided with the large hall. Come out. Xiao Yan flicked aside St. Gu's attack with a finger. He grabbed with his hand and a cluster of blue flame was forcefully extracted from old man Mugu's body. His aura had also become a little weaker at this moment. Clearly, he had received a fatal blow. Xiao Yang, I shall engage in an all-out fight with you. Old man Gu's eyes turned blood-red after the sea heart flame was forcefully removed. His body began to swell. He clearly intended to self-destruct. The current you does not even possess the qualifications to self-destruct in front of me. Xiao Yang glanced at him with a cold and indifferent expression. He randomly waved his hand. A wave of indescribably frightening wind violently smashed into old man Mugu before shattering his body into a bloody fog the next moment. This Hall of Souls Zunjia, who had turned Xiao Yang into a miserable state back then, was not even given the chance to self-destruct at this moment. Xiao Yang glanced at the sea heart flame in his hand after shattering old man Gu's body. He opened his mouth and swallowed the flame. With his current strength, swallowing the sea heart flame would no longer result in an increase in strength, but it was necessary to unleash the angry Buddha lotus flame. Although the life-transforming flame was powerful, it was still a fake heavenly flame. Only after possessing this sea heart flame would Xiao Yang be able to truly unleash a 5-colored extermination fire lotus. Xiao Yang, this place will definitely be where you die today. St. Gu flashed and appeared in the air after Xiao Yang swallowed the sea heart flame. He cried out in a dark and dense voice at the same time. I'm sorry. I plan to turn this place into a bloodbath today. Xiao Yan lifted his head and smiled at Saint Jiu. Yang had already disrupted any spatial fluctuations that occurred in this place. Even if these people possessed a spatial jade to summon the experts from the Han clan, they would not be able to use them. Because of a young fellow like you. Saint Jiu ended up laughing in extreme anger after hearing those words. Xiao Yang was the first person in many years who dared to mention turning the Hall of Souls into a bloodbath. Of course, I am aware that you are not the one in charge here. Xiao Yang ignored Saint Jiu. His eyes shifted to the large black hall as he said in a faint voice, that so-called first Jianzuan, there is no need to continue hiding. Xiao Yang will definitely turn this place into a bloodbath today. Humph, what arrogant words. Do you really think that you can act as you like after reaching the Dosheng class? It is an extremely easy matter for my Han clan to kill you. An icy-cold snort was emitted from deep within the large hall after Xiao Yang's voice sounded. A dense, black fog erupted from within the hall. A skinny skeleton-like elderly figure slowly walked out with a dark, dense aura. A small skeleton-like figure slowly appeared in Xiao Yang's sight as the black fog surged. He was wearing black robes, and his face appeared extremely shriveled. Both of his eyes were deep as two clusters of ghost flames danced within them. They emitted traces of an unusual aura. The legendary first Jianzuan of the Hall of Souls, you are finally willing to show yourself. Xiao Yang looked at the elderly figure before smiling and speaking in a soft voice. The first Jianzuan slowly lifted his head. His shriveled face appeared exceptionally terrifying under the light as ghost flames danced within his eyes. A hoarse voice that gave one goosebumps quietly sounded. Xiao Yang, it is unexpected that you dare to deliver yourself to us. Originally, the clan had decided to let you live a little longer, but now that you have delivered yourself to us, I will help take this life of yours. It is still unknown just who will be the one taking the life of the other. Xiao Yan laughed. His eyes were unusually dark and cold as he looked at that shriveled old man. This old ghost was the one who had quietly intervened and rescued Saint Jiu back then. Xiao Yang might not be able to defeat him had he revealed himself back then, but it was completely different now. Given Xiao Yang's current eyesight, he was naturally able to see through the strength of the first Jianzuan. He was an intermediate 2-star Dosheng. Thus, he was a little stronger than Xiao Yang even after Xiao Yang's strength soared. However, it was not difficult for Xiao Yang to make up for such a gap. Big brother, why do you need to utter so much nonsense to this young fellow? Just kill him and extract his soul. TSK, a Dosheng soul can match the souls that this branch hall has collected over 100 years. Saint Jiu's eyes flickered. Back then, he had suffered a great loss by Xiao Yang's hands, and he had formed a grudge because of that humiliation. Due to the other party's strength, he did not dare to get back at Xiao Yang, yet Xiao Yang dared to barge into the Hall of Souls at this moment. He needed to force him pay a great price no matter what. Ha ha, old ghost Jiu, you really speak too many unnecessary words. Allow me to block him. Saint Jiu's words had just sounded when the space in front of him became distorted. Yao Lao's body slowly appeared. He smiled as he looked at Jiu. There was some ill intent within his eyes. Yao Chen. Jiu's face sank as he saw Yao Lao appear in front of him. He was just about coldly ridicule Yao Lao when he suddenly sensed the faint pressure being emitted from Yao Lao's body. His expression immediately became ugly. You have actually broken through to the Dosheng class? Yao Lao smiled slightly as he looked at Jiu's somewhat distorted expression. He said, I was merely lucky. You launched a sneak attack against me the last time. This time, I shall return that debt to you. Humph, do not think that I am afraid of you just because you have reached the Dosheng class. I am only a step away from being a Dosheng. Jiu let out a cold snort, but he did not appear to be overly afraid. This place was the Hall of Souls territory. His fighting strength would be strengthened here. He pressed both his palms down. Monstrous black chi surged out of his body as the many large chains around the hall began to tremble at this moment. Wave after wave of black dough chi surged out before finally entering his body. Yao Chen, I will see what right you possess to come to my Hall of Souls to collect debt. My Hall of Souls was able to capture you the last time around. This time, I will definitely capture and imprison you again. A black vapor surged. You seemed like a demon god that had descended to this plane. He lifted his head and roared at the sky. After which, a clang-clang sound could be heard. The black fog contained numerous black chains. They were accompanied by sharp cries as they rushed toward Yao Lao. That momentum appeared extremely frightening. Yao Lao faintly laughed upon seeing this attack, but he did not pull back. Do Qi erupted and he transformed into a bolt of lightning that collided with Yu. Xiao Yan also ceased uttering any unnecessary words to the first Jianzuan while Yao Lao was exchanging blows with Yu. His eyes swept over the experts from the Hall of Souls around him before he turned his head to the little fairy doctors group a short distance away. He laughed, I'll leave the others to you. Although this man hall was tightly guarded with many Tianzuns present, the little fairy doctor and Qing Lin could fight an expert Ban Shen at their current strength. Naturally, they were unafraid of the numerical superiority of the other party. If one included Qing Lin's triple jade green snake flower pupils, it was difficult to predict just who would gain the advantage of numerical superiority during the fight. Humph! The expression of the first Tianzuan turned slightly cold upon seeing these battles erupt. The hands under his sleeves began to swiftly form a seal. The space around Xiao Yang fluctuated after the seal was formed. Many white figures flashed into Xiao Yang's eyes. The surrounding space had suddenly been filled by many sharp white bones that were piercing toward him with lightning-like speed. Mere child's play. Xiao Yang merely grinned when he saw the lightning speed of the piercing bones. He gently waved his sleeve as a powerful flame erupted from his body. A terrifying temperature melted those piercing bones in an instant. Bone Emperor piercing sky? The piercing bones scattered and an unusually cold cry suddenly sounded. The space above Xiao Yang's head hurriedly fluctuated. An enormous bone blade that contained a strange aura broke through the empty space. It shook as it hacked down at Xiao Yang. An unusual fluctuation scattered after this strange bone blade was swung down. It flew toward Xiao Yang with lightning-like speed. This is spiritual attack. Xiao Yang was slightly startled upon sensing this mysterious fluctuation. It was unexpected that the first Tianzuan actually knew how to use a spiritual attack. Unfortunately, Xiao Yang had never been afraid of anyone when it came to a clash in terms of spiritual attack. Shatter! Xiao Yang's fist was clenched. His expression was calm as he threw a punch forward. There were no fancy movements nor fluctuations of Do Qi. Instead, spiritual strength erupted from Xiao Yang's brow when he threw his fist forward. Boom! An invisible spiritual palm wind rushed away from Xiao Yang's palm. It collided with that bone blade fluctuation in the air. The both of them annihilated each other. The first Tianzuan's body flashed after seeing Xiao Yang easily shatter that spiritual fluctuation. He appeared under the 1,000-foot large bone blade in the sky. Black fog surged from his hands before the fog turned into a giant hand that grabbed the hilt of the sword. With a cold cry, the bone blade tore through space itself. It was accompanied by an extremely frightening sharp fluctuation as it was slashed down in fury. That bone blade is a little strange. It seems to be able to injure one's soul. The enormous bone blade rapidly grew in Xiao Yang's eyes. His hand suddenly pressed against empty air as the ground below quickly protruded. Nearly 100 lava pillars suddenly shot out and violently collided with the bone blade from all directions. Humph! The first Tianzuan let out a cold snort after his attack was blocked. The enormous bone blade gently cut and the 100-plus enormous magma pillars actually began to explode. Even the violent fire energy underground was forcefully suppressed by the blade. Xiao Yang, this bone blade of this old man has been created from the bones of tens of thousands of people. There are many unknown spiritual blades contained within it. Once this blade invades one's body, one will suffer the bitterness of being devoured by tens of thousands of souls. The bone blade in First Tianzuan's hand slashed horizontally as he spoke in a sinister voice. I think highly of you by using this to take your life. Unorthodox actions. Xiao Yang coldly laughed. He maintained the heavenly flame to guard his body. The whatever blade aura that could injure his soul was blocked. He immediately waved his hand as 5 clusters of flames appeared in front of him. Including the sea heart flame, which he had refined earlier, he had a total of 5 types of genuine heavenly flames. Since you place so much confidence in this broken bone blade of yours, I shall shatter it. Xiao Yang's hand seals changed with lightning-like speed. Following his changing hand seals, the 5 clusters of heavenly flames in front of him began to swell. Within a short instant, they turned into a wolf, leopard, dragon, etc., enormous fire spirits. They floated in the sky and connected with each other. After which, they quickly formed an enormous flame formation. The 5-ring flame expelling technique. If 4 of the 5 spirits were formed by heavenly flames, its might could be comparable to a Qian-class Do skills. Currently, Xiao Yang had used a heavenly flame to form them all. The 5 types of heavenly flames had unleashed the 5-ring flame expelling technique to its limit. 5 types of fire spirits swiftly merged together. They turned into a 1,000-foot large fire ring in the blink of an eye. The fire ring wildly rotated. Even space itself had completely collapsed at this moment, appearing like ferocious large black mouth. Humph, how arrogant! The first Qianzuan smiled in a dense manner. Black chi surged from within before turning into many ferocious-looking souls. Sharp miserable screeches continued to charge into the bone blade. As these numerous souls surged into it, bright red blood began to gradually appear on the dense, white surface of the bone blade. It appeared like a dark line of blood. Soul destruction slash. Following the strange trace of blood that appeared on the bone blade, a grave expression began to rise on the first Qianzuan's face. He suddenly waved his hand and an enormous bone blade violently hacked toward the fire ring suspended in the sky. Break it! A flushed red expression surfaced on the first Qianzuan's face. Space collapsed wherever the bone blade passed. The ground that was tens of thousands of feet under them was cut, forming a deep 1,000-foot wide gully. Rotate! Xiao Yang's hand seal changed as he sensed the ferocity of the first Qianzuan's blade attack. The fire ring was wildly rotated. It appeared like a toothed plate that covered the sky. It emitted a buzzing sound and rushed forward with extreme speed. Finally, it violently collided with that huge bone blade without giving in. An earth-shaking sound immediately erupted over the space that had been sealed. Monstrous energy storms swept apart with uncontrollable speed. That black large hall completely collapsed at this moment. A terrifying energy fluctuation crazily spread to the sky. Even the spatial barrier that covered this area had been shaken to the point where an intense ripple appeared. A faint cracked line began to vaguely spread. Boom! The storm wildly shook at the point where the 2 attacks collided. The enormous ring of fire was pushed back as it became more faint, but it still rotated with great speed. In the end, it completely disappeared. A large bone blade flew backwards from the storm the moment the ring of fire had disappeared. It finally landed on a mountain. A frightening force instantly shattered the mountain into complete ruins. The bone blade weakly lay on the shattered stone. It was clear that both parties were unable to obtain much from this head-on collision. Both suffered some injuries. This bone blade is indeed a little mysterious. The large fire array above Xiao Yang's head slowly disappeared. It returned to 5 clusters of flames that were swallowed by him. His eyes were a little startled as he looked at the dense, white bone blade. He was able to sense a quiet and strange fluctuation being emitted from the bone blade upon contact. This kind of ripple was extremely harmful to one's soul. If his heavenly flame wasn't guarding his soul, he would have ended up suffering. You are indeed worthy of being someone who has caused my Hall of Souls to repeatedly fail to capture you. You do possess some ability. The first Qianzuan's eyes vaguely gained an additional solemnness as he looked at Xiao Yang. You have advanced from a 1-star Dosheng to a 2-star Dosheng within a short year. Even I have to praise you for that. If you are willing to join my Hall of Souls, your position will definitely not be inferior to me. Xiao Yan revealed a strange smile upon hearing these words. The relationship between him and the Hall of Souls had reached a point where neither would rest until the other perished, Yet this old fellow actually trying to recruit him. Xiao Yang's strange expression was caught by the first gentleman's eyes. This caused the first gentleman to feel a little furious in his heart. He coldly laughed, "You arrogant fellow. In the future, you will understand just how powerful the Han clan is across this continent. Someone like you is merely an ant-like existence. It is only too easy for my Han clan to kill you. Is that so?" Xiao Yang was non-committal. The corner of his mouth was lifted into a faint arc as he said, "Before this, however, I will first finish you off. With just you." A strange night owl-like laughter was emitted from his mouth. His hand grabbed the mess below and an enormous bone blade flew up. It was stopped in front of the first gentleman. His body moved before standing on the bone blade. Numerous ripples surfaced on the bone blade. The first gentleman's body slowly merged into the bone blade. Man and blade merger. Xiao Yang involuntarily lifted his brow upon seeing this merger. "Xiao Yang, I have bitterly trained for a couple of 100 years in order to merge my body with the Bone Emperor blade. This is the first time I will use it against an opponent. You will be used as a sacrifice for the blade." The enormous Bone Emperor blade floated in the air. The first gentleman's face appeared on its dense, white body. Countless tiny blood scars slowly spread over the blade, appearing as though they were densely packed blood vessels. The first gentleman's voice had just sounded when the Bone Emperor blade shook. Its existence quickly vanished. What great speed! Shock rose within Xiao Yang's heart the moment the bone blade disappeared. His body pulled back in reflex. The space in front of Xiao Yang fluctuated the moment he did so. A sharp blade suddenly slashed down. The blade was half a foot from Xiao Yang's head. Your reaction is indeed quite quick." A strange laughter was emitted from the Bone Emperor blade after the slash missed. The blade shook and an unusual cry was suddenly emitted. Countless blade shadows appeared in a flash. They wrapped around Xiao Yang in the next moment before the sharp blade glows aimed at the lethal spots around Xiao Yang. Six-joint body flowing ruler. Xiao Yang's expression became solemn as the sharp attacks from the Bone Emperor blade pressed down on him. He clenched his hand and the heavy Xian ruler appeared in it. The ruler shook as many ruler shadows formed a defensive net that wrapped around his body. Numerous sharp blade shadows poured onto the ruler figures like a storm, causing waves of sparks to erupt. The surrounding space would split and form a dark black crack each time the ruler shadows and the blade shadows clashed. The Bone Emperor blade's attacks began to soar as it faced Xiao Yang's tortoise-shell-like defense. This extremely frightening attacking speed caused a grave expression to flash across Xiao Yang's eyes. Just this attack alone would enable the first gentleman to fight against advanced 2-star Dosheng experts. Even Yao Ming would have difficulty defeating him. The so-called blade and man merger was indeed quite mysterious. Bang! Xiao Yang focused his mind as he built his defense. A sense of danger suddenly rose within his heart at a certain instant as his head was suddenly turned. Boom! A glaring blade light forcefully tore through the ruler shadows around Xiao Yang the moment his head turned. A sharp cold ray of light slashed Xiao Yang's shoulder. The ray of light emitted a wave of light the moment it made contact with his body. That sharp blade light was hindered. Soon after, the light was forcefully parted by a blade as the Bone Emperor blade mercilessly hacked into Xiao Yang's shoulder. Sparks shot out the moment Xiao Yang was struck, but fresh blood did not flow from him. A couple of broken scale fragments shot out. Those scale fragments came from the Dragon Phoenix ancient armor hidden under his skin that had been summoned by him at this critical moment. The heavy ruler in Xiao Yang's hands was suddenly swung after the Bone Emperor blade struck him. It ruthlessly smashed into the Bone Emperor blade and sent the blade flying. He turned his head and looked at the faint bloody mark on his shoulder. His expression became slightly gloomy. It was the first time that his defensive formation had been forcefully broken after he had used the six-joint body-flowing ruler. From this, one could tell just how frightening the offensive speed of the first gentleman was after both man and blade merged. What a tough body! The first gentleman's body once again appeared on the Bone Emperor blade that had been sent flying. He strangely laughed as he looked at Xiao Yang and said, Your speed is too slow. It is unable to catch up with me after I have merged with the blade. Xiao Yang was without expression. He nodded slowly but did not deny the strength of this first Tianzuan. Just this attack could challenge an advanced 2-star Doshan. This point alone allowed the first Tianzuan to be proud. A long breath of air was slowly emitted from within Xiao Yang's mouth. His expression gradually became grave as both of his hands were placed together. After which, they swiftly changed and formed numerous complicated hand seals. Following the change in these hand seals, the spiritual strength on his brow suddenly broke from his body. It transformed into a huge illusionary figure that covered his body. Since you are fast, I shall be faster than you. Xiao Yang's hand slowly stilled. A cold smile was lifted on his face, yellow spring divine anger. Xiao Yang's mind moved as the large illusionary figure slowly widened its huge mouth. A terrifying spiritual attack suddenly swept out like a storm. Boom! This terrifying sonic spiritual attack disseminated through the air. The bodies of nearly 70% of the Hall of Souls experts in this area suddenly stiffened at this moment. A bang sounded as their bodies vanished. Both their souls and their physical bodies had been destroyed by this spiritual assault. Clang! The powerful spiritual attack was detected by the first Tianzuan. Before he could do anything after just detecting it, that spiritual attack struck his body. The enormous Bone Emperor blade was sent flying at this moment. An elderly figure also flew out of the blade the moment this spiritual attack landed. A mouthful of fresh blood was wildly spat out. The first Tianzuan was sent flying from the Bone Emperor blade by Xiao Yang. Yellow spring finger. Xiao Yang suddenly pressed with his finger after watching the first Tianzuan get forcefully thrown out of the Bone Emperor blade. An enormous energy hand then appeared before it ruthlessly pressed onto the body of the first Tianzuan. A frightening strength caused the first Tianzuan's body to explode almost instantly. His arm turned into a bloody fog. Yellow spring palm. A roar and a finger turned the situation around, but Xiao Yang did not show any mercy. He once again slammed his palm forward as an enormous energy palm formed. It struck the first Tianzuan SN body. The first Tianzuan's body was like a cannonball as it shot down from the sky and ruthlessly pierced the ground. A frightening wave forcefully rose from the land, forming a pit a couple of thousand of feet deep. In 3 strikes, the demon Saint Hong Quan's 3 ultimate skills were unleashed by Xiao Yang with extreme familiarity. The yellow spring divine anger would harm one soul while the yellow spring finger and the yellow spring palm would destroy one's body. Their combined might could only be described as terrifying. Xiao Yang floated in the sky. He slowly exhaled a breath of air as his eyes looked at the deep pit with some indifference. There was a little aura lingering at that spot. Clearly, the first Tianzuan still had a couple of breaths remaining. Die? Xiao Yang's eyes were cold and indifferent. His finger aimed at the bottom of the deep pit from a great distance. He suddenly clenched his hand as the large hall suddenly emitted an extremely powerful energy ripple. The space in front of Xiao Yang became distorted. A figure slowly appeared. At the same time, an unusually powerful aura also swept over this sealed space. Xiao Yang, how dare you? Xiao Yang grinned after hearing the low and deep sound. He looked at the ghost-like figure. It seemed as though he did not feel that it was strange for this human figure to suddenly appear. His voice was calm as he said, "Deputy Chief of the Hall of Souls, are you finally unable to hold back any longer after hiding for such a long time?" This video ends here.